One Rowan Atkinson, the legendary comedian known worldwide as Mr. Bean in Blackadder, made a rare television appearance on the ITV daytime show Loose Women yesterday, and what was meant to be a light-hearted chat about his new animated series quickly spiraled into one of the most explosive moments in the program's history. The panel that day consisted of regular host Kay Adams, Janet Street Porter, Jane Moore, and the outspoken Denise Welch, who has never been shy about sharing strong opinions. Atkinson, dressed in his signature smart but slightly eccentric style with a tweed jacket and bright tie, began the interview politely, discussing the challenges of voicing characters in Man vs. Bee and his return to physical comedy after years away from the spotlight. The studio audience was loving every second of his dry wit and perfectly timed facial expressions. Everything seemed normal until Denise Welch decided to steer the conversation toward what she called outdated comedy and problematic humor from the 1980s and 90s. She specifically referenced Blackadder's sharp class-based jokes and not the 9 o'clock news sketches that mocked politicians and celebrities alike. Welch suggested that some of Atkinson's older material wouldn't survive cancel culture today and asked point-blank whether he regretted any of his past work. The audience fell silent as Rowan's eyebrow famously shot up in that Mr. Bean way that needs no words. He responded calmly at first, saying he believed comedy should push boundaries and that trying to rewrite history because modern sensibilities have shifted was intellectually lazy. Denise, never one to back down, pressed harder, claiming that certain sketches perpetuated harmful stereotypes and that privileged comedians like him had a responsibility to apologize. The tension was palpable. You could almost hear the producers panicking backstage. What happened next has already become internet legend. Rowan Atkinson, still remarkably composed, delivered a masterclass in polite devastation. He reminded Denise that she herself had appeared in provocative dramas like Waterloo Road and had defended Coronation Street storylines that many found controversial. He then quoted George Orwell about how every joke is a tiny revolution and argued that sanitizing comedy ultimately serves authoritarian thinking, whether from the left or the right. Denise interrupted, raising her voice and saying that as a mental health advocate she found jokes about certain topics deeply triggering for vulnerable viewers. The audience started murmuring. Some clapped in support of Denise, others audibly gasped. Kay Adams tried to move the conversation along with a nervous laugh and a quick question about Atkinson's electric car collection, but Denise wasn't finished. She accused Rowan of hiding behind clever words and not understanding real struggle because he'd never had to fight for anything in his life. At this point Rowan's expression changed from amused to ice-cold. In his unmistakable clipped tone, he replied, "I fought to speak at my father's funeral when I could barely stand from grief. I fought stammering every day of my childhood, and I fought to make people laugh when the world felt unbearably dark. Don't lecture me about struggle from a cushioned chair on daytime television." The studio went deadly quiet. Janet Street Porter tried to diffuse things with a joke about men never understanding women, but even she looked shaken. Social media instantly exploded with clips within minutes. Rowan vs. Denise was trending worldwide. The breaking point came when Denise Welch, visibly emotional, claimed that comedians like Atkinson had blood on their hands because cruel humor contributed to poor mental health outcomes. Rowan leaned forward, looked directly at her, and said, "Denise, I have lost friends to suicide. I have supported mental health charities for decades quietly and without fanfare. To suggest that a joke I wrote 40 years ago killed someone is not just absurd, it's grotesque." The audience reaction was split. Some started slow clapping in support of Rowan. Others shouted, "That's not fair." In defense of Denise, producers cut to an emergency advert break 2 minutes early, something Loose Women has literally never done before. When they returned, Kay Adams apologized profusely for a robust exchange of views and announced that unfortunately Mr. Atkinson had decided to leave the studio and would not be returning after the break. The camera briefly caught Rowan standing up, giving a small polite nod to the audience, and walking off set with the dignity of a man who knows he just won an argument he never wanted to have. Backstage sources later claimed he told a runner, "I came here to talk about cartoons, not to be accused of manslaughter via punchline." For by the time the show ended 10 minutes later, Rowan Atkinson was already in his car heading back to London. ITV released a short statement saying both parties had agreed to disagree passionately and that they remained huge fans of Mr. Atkinson's work. Denise Welch posted on social media an emotional video from her dressing room saying she stood by every word but wished it hadn't escalated, adding that she has nothing but respect for Rowan's talent while still believing comedy needs to evolve. Within an hour, memes were everywhere. Mr. Bean staring silently with the caption, "When you realize you picked the wrong fight." Blackadder snarling, "I have a cunning plan," a broken bar leave, and slow-motion clips of Rowan's eyebrow raise set to dramatic music. Piers Morgan waiting, calling it the most glorious takedown in daytime TV history, while others accused Rowan of being thin-skinned and unable to handle criticism. Clips racked up tens of millions of views overnight. 5 This morning, Loose Women opened with an apology from the panel, explaining that while they encourage lively debate, things had gone too far. Kay Adams said Rowan had sent a very gracious text wishing everyone well and hoping the show continues to give people a platform. Denise Welch was notably absent from the episode, apparently taking a pre-planned day off. Meanwhile, Rowan gave a short statement through his publicist. "I have always believed comedy should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Yesterday I was certainly disturbed, but I bear no ill will. Life is too short." He then apparently went back to quietly working on his next project and charging his beloved electric Jaguar in peaceful countryside silence. 6 As of now, bookmakers have slashed odds on Rowan Atkinson never returning to daytime television, while ITV executives are reportedly in crisis meetings about how to handle the fallout. Whether this becomes just another wild TV moment or the spark that reignites the endless culture war debate about comedy remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: you do not come for Rowan Atkinson on live television unless you are prepared for a response delivered with the precision of a Blackadder insult and the silent fury of Mr. Bean trapped in a department store after closing time. The British public, for once, seems overwhelmingly on the side of the man who rarely speaks but, when he does, leaves the entire room wishing they'd stayed quiet.